All right, we are live on YouTube for another episode of the On the Hunt podcast. My name is Elijah Winfrey. Joining me tonight, and I'm pointing in the wrong direction. There we go. Joining me tonight is Bobby Bless, the number one Lions fan. You know, Mr. Bobby Bless. Bobby, how's it going, man?
Well, it's good, man. We got the players to talk about. We actually got the schedule to look forward to. It's almost football season again, man. It's creeping, and I'm off tomorrow, so it's just lovely around here.
It's funny. So I have to tell people up front, okay? I was not able to watch the draft Saturday and Sunday, okay? Or I should say, Friday and Saturday. I was only able to watch the Thursday because Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I was in Vermont, New York at the Sci-Fi Expo they were doing over there, vending and telling people about our movies and our podcasts and stuff. So some of the players that we drafted in those other rounds outside of round one, I don't have a lot of information on. So I'm kind of learning about these guys as we go. But obviously, I'm happy that they're in Detroit. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy that they're in Detroit. Bobby, I feel like you would agree with that type of statement too, that like you might not know the player, but like once they, don that Honolulu blue, they're one of us, right?
In theory, but I got a little caveat to that. Only because we got Brad Holmes picking them. If Bob Quinn was doing the picking, I would need more, but I think we done came to a part of Brad Holmes' regime where Brad Holmes and Campbell, honestly, where we can just, as they say, let them cook, brother. So I'm happy. They really couldn't mess it up until I see them on the field, right?
Exactly. And I will say, I was very excited, very, very excited that Terrion Arnold was the first player to come off that board for the Lions this time around. And I'm excited about that for multiple reasons. And I figure we'll talk about that just briefly, and then we'll get into the individual players that we picked. But one of the things that we pride ourselves on this show is that everybody does their own research. Everybody's watching highlight tapes. Bobby had his guys he was excited about. Nate had his guys. Reggie had his people. So did I. Um, and because of doing all that research, we like to believe that sometimes we might be onto something before other people are. And I know that for myself on a personal level, in the last two drafts, I have been able to successfully figure out who we pick first. And I also was able to figure out the quarterback that we drafted. So that's three correct picks in the last 2 years. I've never had that happen before in my entire life. And I've been doing mock drafts since I was like 13 years old. So for me, that's a big deal. And then if you look at our team, okay, our team, me, Nate, Bobby, Reggie, we were able to correctly guess the top six quarterbacks' landing destinations.
We did?
Yeah, the top six. Because I guessed five of them correctly, and then Nate was the one who said right before the draft, go back and watch it, Michael Penix Jr. to the Falcons.
Yeah.
Say
Oh,
that.
he did, didn't he?
He
Huh?
did say that. So we got
Yeah,
six.
I do remember that. That the bastard.
So we got 6 out of 6, which I think that's pretty good. That's pretty
Yeah.
good. So, but Bobby, I know that, like I said, you had your guys that you were excited about, in particular, a corner out of Philly, or excuse me, a corner out of Toledo who's now playing for Philly. Remind us again what you liked about that kid outside of him.
Yeah, because being from the MAC conference, we not gonna say he playing Randy Moss and Jerry Rice every week. So what you expect from him is to dominate, like look like a man amongst boys playing against them. He definitely bring that to the table. And the thing I like about him, he know how to turn his head. I wish our resident defensive coordinator was here talking. The kid can turn his head. So he won't. I don't expect him to get a lot of penalties. And since he's going to the Eagles, he's going to get some Darius Slay tutelage. So he probably in good hands, to be honest, brother. Shout out to him because he was very close to being the first UT Rocket ever took in the top 10. And the matter of fact, when we was at 21, I wanted them to draft. I wanted them to move up to get him, but the Eagles did, I guess, or something, or the Eagles picked him. But I was happy with Arnold though. But I was suspecting Kool-Aid. So the fact that I didn't get what I was looking for is actually all right because once again, we do our own scouting, our own homework. Mr. Arnold was one of the people we talked about quite a bit leading up to the draft. Ain't that right, Elijah?
Yeah, and I tell you what, as I'm watching it, right, as I'm watching the draft, I'm getting more and more nervous the closer and closer it gets to our pick there at 24. And I'm going, man, like actually it wasn't 24. It was we were supposed to be later and then we moved up to 24. But as it's getting later and later, I'm like, oh no, we're gonna lose out on Terry and Arnold, and it's gonna be like the pick before ours that makes it happen. And then we traded up, and I remember sitting there with my wife, and I'm like, okay, the only decision is, what color marker do you want to use to write Terry and Arnold on the card? That is the only decision. Okay. It should
Feel
not
that.
be anybody else. And when they finally announced it, of course, I'm freaking out. Slinky Dog's, reacting to it as well here in the house. But I was just so dang happy because this is a kid that I wanted from back in February, pre-combine. And you and I, Bobby, we talked about why I liked him so much. Yes, the on-field stuff is there, but I like him because I think he could be a leader on this team. If y'all look at the way this man carries himself in press conferences, the way he carries himself when things don't go his way, and he's able to take hard coaching. I mean, this is a guy that could probably be a team captain, if not this year, definitely moving forward on that defense. And I love it because, a lot of times with cornerbacks, and I don't know how many people out there will agree with me on this, but I feel like a lot of times with cornerbacks, they have that swagger, but it usually turns into just being flat out cocky. And with Terry and Arnold, I don't get cocky. What I get out of it is he is a confident man. He is confident in his abilities, but he also knows, like, hey, if I messed up, I'm going to own up to it and I'm going to make sure it doesn't happen again. So to me, I love that about this pick because I think you're getting somebody that could legitimately be a leader for years to come. And you don't got to worry about, as long as he plays like he did at Alabama, you ain't got to worry about whatever side of the field he's on. He's going to take care of it.
Yeah.
So I like that. I'm not
Well,
sure if you would agree with that, Bobby.
yeah, I definitely agree with it. I wish I had a bell to ring and scream amen and stuff, but the if I'm not mistaken, I know we went over this before, Elijah. That is the kid that got tore up by Nick Saban on the sideline, right? And then
Yeah.
he had that great answer in the press conference. Yeah, that's maturity beyond his years, man. Believe it or not, to be able to swallow your pride and still be able to receive the message is the sheer definition of professionalism to me. And you got guys that's double his age that don't got enough sense like that.
Yeah.
And even if, let's say, knock on wood, because I wish the best for him, let's just say football don't work out for him, he will be able to go into any company in this world with the attitude like that and be able to not only uh, get the job, but to be one of the leaders, man. It is very important to be able to, and I'm going to be honest with you, when someone cussing you out and stuff, it's nothing but pride. So
Uh-huh.
to be able to not not clock and over not clock and bust the dude in the face or whatever like that,
Yeah.
but just be able to keep his cool, not only not to do something to the dude, but to actually receive the information is it's going to take him a long way, man. That might be his best tool in his bag because a lot of times people don't know how to react under pressure situations, and them yelling like that is one of them. But if they're right, you can still block out that stuff and get what's right out the whole situation. Is very cool. And this is just a short thing. I got a boss at work like that.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily going to give you the nice
People don't
sweet
know how to
blessings when
react.
they talk to you, but you know what else though? They're always right. So it's very important that just because they're not saying the nice thing, you got to still find the right thing about it, Elijah. So Arnold is definitely a good pick, and I think he's the steal of the draft with that attitude. Because if his mind matches skill set, I think we in for a guy that's going to be here quite a bit, quite
Oh
a long
yeah.
time.
And you think about the way that Terrion talked about that situation, with Nick Saban. He was saying, sometimes you got to listen to what they're saying, not how they're saying it. And I thought that was a very good way of putting that. Now,
That's life.
obviously, we are going YouTube live right now, so I do want to give a shout out to comedian Shay B, who has tuned in and
Hey,
said,
girl, always
"Hey,
looking
how's it
out.
going?" And thank you for tuning in. We greatly appreciate it. Hopefully, we'll get some more folks coming in here and enjoying the show this evening. Tim Darga says, "Fellas, how about that secondary?" Well, Tim, you tuned into the right.
Yeah,
That's literally what we were talking about. Was the
yeah, Tim,
secondary.
right on. Yeah, Tim,
So
we got it.
so here's something that's kind of funny. So I saw Jason Frick. Okay, I saw Jason Frick was commenting on one of the statuses we put out about being right about about me being right with 3 draft picks in the last 2 years. And what Jason said was, if Elijah predicted that they would pick 2 corners, he better go start gambling. And
Ooh,
what's funny about that is, technically, I did. All right.
ooh.
Technically, I did because I have been saying Terrion Arnold and Quantez Stiggers. So I didn't get the player right, and I'm not trying to take credit for that. But I was saying 2 corners. I was saying go get 2 corners. And we ended up doing that. I got the first one right. I did not get the second person right. But that's like if you look at the players that I was hoping the Lions would get, I had talked about a bigger running back. We ended up getting one of those. I talked about, getting a wide receiver. We didn't do that. So I was dead wrong on that one. Like, I'll own up to that. I was dead wrong on that one. But maybe we get a wide receiver, post June 1st. I don't know.
They,
Um,
they picked up a guy in the undrafted free agent kid. He slash kick returner too. So just
right.
never
And
know.
then we ended up getting 2 different linemen. We got an offensive tackle that we will talk about, and we also got an offensive guard. Now, from everything I've heard, both of these players are going to be put in the guard positions for Detroit. And if you think about it, last year they went out and got a guard as well from a smaller college. So that's 3 offensive linemen in the last 2 years that have been drafted by Brad Holmes. And I got to say, I like that. I really like that because offensive line, obviously the game is won in the trenches, all that cliche stuff you hear people say. It's cliche, but it's true. But for the Lions, it's especially true because that's like our calling card, is how great our offensive line is. And the fact that we know Frank Ragnow's been beat up. We know that Taylor Decker is not, as young as he used to be. Not saying that he's old or anything, but he's not as young as he used to be. So the fact that they're continuing that maintenance on the offensive line, I like that. I like what they're doing with that. But yeah, as far as the secondary is concerned, I'm excited to see what these 2 young corners can do. And I think we should get into, as long as Bobby's ready, I think we should get into the list of all the players that we drafted.
I'm definitely ready, brother. You know what I mean? Because it's been years with you like. Shout out to my friend Tim at work. He always say we need a secondary. We need a secondary. And then when that I'm texting him on Saturday, like, dude, they didn't pick one in the first and the second round. He said they should have been doing that for. He said 5 years straight. I'm like, okay, just, you know what I mean? But he said that the secondary and then the fact that Arnold was already in the secondary with Branch, and that they got some kind of cohesiveness already.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's looking like we're doing the right things now.
So let's go through these picks here. Obviously, Terrion Arnold got things started at pick 24 out of Alabama. He's a corner, 5'11", 189 pounds. And, obviously, if you've been watching the show, we love this kid. 2021, he was redshirted. 2022, he was the FWAA Freshman All-American team. He was also Freshman All-SEC. Played in 11 games with 7 starts, 45 tackles, an interception, and 8 pass breakups. In 2023, he was first team Associated Press All-American, first team All-SEC, tied for 6th in the FBS with 5 interceptions, tied for 5th with 17 passes defended, 12 pass breakups and started all 14 games. That is Terrion Arnold. But as I've told y'all before, and as we said earlier in the show, to me, it's a lot more about what he did off the field than obviously the dominance on the field. I never doubted his athletic ability. That was never in doubt for me. What I wanted to see, though, was how do you take hard coaching? Because cornerback is one of the hardest positions to make that adjustment from college to the NFL. A lot of things can go wrong back there. So you got to be
Oh
able to.
yeah, hey, you remember the guy giving Okuda the business every week? They end up
Yeah.
Pleasant. They end up firing him, but him and Okuda used to have at it.
Right.
Real.
And like I said when I said we should draft this kid, I said it felt like back in those days that they had a camera just for when that was happening, because every time it happened, it made it on TV. So
hey man, I ain't gonna even lie, because Okuda used to mess up, and I used to be yelling at the TV. So I felt like Mr. Pleasant was speaking through me. I was speaking through him, man. Get him. I used to be like, get him. Him and Okorie used to give me a headache. But that's it. Just for this.
Round two, we with the pick 61, of the draft, we went out and got Ennis Rakestraw Jr. out of Missouri, 5'11", 183 pounds. And let me stop right there for a second. Are we noticing at home? Y'all let me know in the chat. Are we noticing at home the size of these corners? Because to me, that was the first thing I noticed was, okay, so we're not going after 5'10", 5'9" with a lot of speed. We want guys who are fast, don't get me wrong, but we want people who have good size, 5'11" or above. That seemed to be the calling card for these two corners, and physical corners who don't mind coming down and getting involved in run defense. So that's something that I noticed, Bobby. I don't know if you really, took a look at that as far as the size of these corners.
You know what? I'm gonna say no, Elijah, but that's something I need to start looking at, because it got to be some kind of pattern if you noticed it.
I'm just saying the wide receivers nowadays, man, they just keep getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And their ability to leap out the freaking stadium just, never ceases to amaze me. So it's like you need somebody who can, I'm not saying leap out of the stadium, but you got to have somebody that can at the very least compete,
Right.
6'4" versus 5'9", that's not a fair battle, but 6'4" versus 5'11", you can hold your own a little bit,
Yeah.
So Ennis Rakestraw Jr., let's go down the list of his accomplishments. In 2020, he tied for the team lead with 6 pass breakups. Started all 10 games, by the way, 24 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and 1 sack. In 2021, redshirted, played in 4 games with 1 start, 13 tackles, 2 pass breakups. Missed the rest of the season, though, due to an ACL injury. As Brad Holmes has always kind of said, basically, F those injuries, because he believes in his training staff that they can get the play right and we're going to be fine. But again, that was back in 2021 where he missed the rest of the season due to an ACL injury. In 2022, though, he started all 13 games, 35 tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss, an interception, and 2 forced fumbles. And this past season played in 9 games with 8 starts, 35 tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss, 4 pass breakups, a forced fumble. However, he did miss 4 games with a groin injury. That is Ennis Rakestraw Jr. And from my understanding, he had quite the combine, if I'm not mistaken, as far as his speed is concerned. Let me just look that up, Bobby. I'll get your general thoughts while I'm looking that up.
No, fire away, Elijah. Keep the ship going. I'm with you. Do what you got to do.
But what are your thoughts on Ennis?
Yeah, I'm not. I didn't get it because I'm watching the draft at work. Well, listening to the draft at work, so I'm not really seeing the highlights, but I'm hearing the youngsters' thoughts after the fact, And he was saying that when he went to the top 30 meeting, that he was there the same day with Arnold on this top 30 meeting. So I think Brad Holmes seen some chemistry amongst them, I'm pretty sure they had the chance to socialize with each other and whatnot. But the thing that sticks in my memory the most about what he said, Elijah, was he said that he will seal the edges like a linebacker. And I said, whoa, he's pretty tough. But when I seen how much he weighed what it was, 185. That means he's crazy. Crazy dude, reckless abandon. Because he don't weigh much, but he ain't scared to, hit. And that just, even with Mr. Arnold, that just goes back to my original thought, or one of the sayings that I do go by is, I rather have to calm someone down than to hype them up. So he already crossed a lot of boxes for me as far as aggressiveness. So I'm interested to see how he puts that on the field, because in the NFL, it's a lot of double moves, it's a lot of misdirections. So I don't want him, biting on stuff too much, just being overly aggressive. So I'm interested on how um, uh, Aaron Glenn, Aaron Glenn was an all-pro corner. So I'm interested to see how he's going to mold these guys, because believe it or not, Aaron Glenn was one of the most aggressive corners of his day also. So I wanted to see how he molds them to be the player that they're capable of being, because let's be honest now, they got picked pretty high at one of the most athletic positions, if not the most athletic position. So it's something there to work with. So let's see if Aaron Glenn can finally get his guys to play the defense that he brung to Detroit.
And let's go over that scouting report for Ennis Rakestraw Jr. Because again, folks, this was a player that I did not know that much about. I'll be completely honest with y'all. I did not know that much about him. So let me read you the scouting report from NFL.com on Ennis Rakestraw Jr., our second-round pick out of Missouri. Okay, it says Rakestraw plays the game with good physicality and a competitive tilt that defensive back coaches will enjoy. He's strong, but not as big or fast as teams usually like when picking within the first 3 rounds of the draft. However, he's hard-nosed in press and has the body control and anticipation to play a sticky brand of man coverage over the first 2 levels. He's quicker than fast and does a nice job of breaking quickly on throws in front of him with well-timed challenges to knock the ball free. He intercepted only 1 pass during his college career, which could be a concern, but his willingness and toughness and run support work in his favor. Rakestraw could become a good backup with eventual starter potential in the right scheme. And to go through some of these strengths that they have listed for him, highly competitive with quality toughness at the position, rough ride for receivers when he's jamming them for press, excellent body control allows him to stay in phase against comeback routes, drives hard to the throw from off coverages and runs through targets, uses well-timed punches and slaps to disrupt the catch try, salty and run support with willingness to wrap and lift ball carriers. Now, here's the weaknesses, all right? Handsy play that will be flagged in the NFL. Won't opt to get, which, by the way, that should mean something to you when they say that on the nfl.com website. That kind of means they're looking at this kid already for flags, But
yeah, they already got him. They already got him labeled, huh? You ain't lying, Elijah.
Handsy play that will be flagged in the NFL. Won't often get head turned to find the football on deep throws. Displayed some confusion from zone coverages in 2022. Recovery speed comes into question at times. Tore his ACL in 2021 and missed multiple games in 2023 due to a groin injury. And then one NFC regional scout said, and I quote, "I just don't know how he's going to run. You can mix and match him in coverages, but I think there will be some man matchups that are going to be tough for him." And that's from an NFC regional scout, probably somebody for the Bears, just saying. But that is the scouting report there for Ennis Rakestraw Jr. Again, use that scouting report as you see fit. I never say that scouting reports are the end-all be-all, because how many times have we seen it where a player ends up having a great career. And one of the things they do to celebrate that career is they go back and read their scouting report and talk about how wrong that person was. You know, we've seen that happen, especially at the quarterback spot. They had Peyton Manning read his scouting report. Tom Brady read his in the documentary they did about Tom Brady. Drew Brees read his scouting report. So sometimes these scouting reports are dead wrong at the end of the day. But I like to read it if I don't know a lot about the player, because I don't want to be up here, talking a whole bunch of stuff that don't make a whole lot of sense. So
yeah,
that, yeah.
and I'm glad you even read the scouting report, because it kind of cements the fact to me, just hearing the young man's statement about how he seals the edge like a linebacker. He need to be calmed down, because everything that I read in the scouting, that you read in the scouting report, positive and negative, it was a guy that just ain't scared. So you can always work with that. You know what I mean, Elijah?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay, so let's get to our next draft pick here. This is somebody that, again, I don't know hardly anything about, okay? By the way, Bobby, if you can keep an eye on the comment section, I want to make sure we're not ignoring,
Okay,
but I can't see the comments while I'm reading the scouting
I
report.
got you. I got you. I got you.
In the fourth round, pick 126, we went out and got Giovanni Manu. All right. And here's what it says on NFL.com about Giovanni. Manu looks like an offensive line prospect who was crafted with the help of artificial intelligence. Now, remember, this kid is 6'7", 350 pounds. All right. In the words of the great philosopher Chris Tucker, he's too damn big. That's right. So let's take a look here. Let's take a look here at what the rest of they say. But they say he looks like he was crafted with the help of artificial intelligence. He's tall with long arms and impressive lean muscle mass. However, he hasn't had exposure to high-end competition, and elements of his game will have to be built from the ground up. He has some nasty in his work and has developmental tools to mold. If he doesn't have the foot quickness to play tackle, he appears to have the bend and power to give it a go as a guard. Manu could be a late round pick, but teams will need to be patient with his development. And the reason why they're saying, he hasn't played top end talent is because he played for the University of British Columbia. Okay. So
man,
you watch
right?
his highlight tape and he's going to look, like a man amongst boys, right? So that's why they're saying that. So as far as strength are concerned, premium size with lean mass and thick limbs, plays with good knee bend and pass protection, snaps heads into place and turns feet through contact. Explosive hips help him get downhill and control the block. Possesses chippy demeanor as a block finisher. That last one to me sounds like Penei Sewell. I shouldn't say Sewell. Penei Sewell. Yeah. See, Bobby used to always say Sewell, so now he's got me saying it. But anyway, that makes that to me sounds like Penei Sewell a little bit. Let's see here. Weaknesses. Will be attempting to make major jump in level of competition. Well,
how they know that though? How do they know that? How?
That's a fair point, Bobby. That's a fair point.
How though? Like, because what?
I don't know. I don't know. But that's what they're saying. So again, that these are not my books. These are the NFL.com scouting report. I want to make sure.
They sound like they hating. I don't like
that. It says we'll need to work on reconfiguring his stance. Hands can be too deliberate getting into run blocks. Pass protection fundamentals are way behind where they need to be. Might not have enough range and redirection to play tackle. And there is no quote from any scout or anything on this one, because they had him going in the 7th round. So the fact that he went in the 4th round, they're like, oh crap, we probably should have done more research on that guy. But again,
right.
I trust Brad Holmes on that one.
Right. No, but see, that's what I'm talking about. Like, they graded him as a 7th round pick. The guys actually know football, putting him in the 4th round. So how I'm tend to lead. I'm optimistic, so I'm gonna lead towards the 4th round grade on him, and then over the 7th rounder.
Yeah. So we're gonna keep it moving here with the next pick. Now this next
one. One more thing, Elijah.
Go ahead.
Now, from like he sound like a WWF guy. If you just like say it like from British Columbia 6'7", 350 pounds. Giovanni Manu. I'm telling you, man, he big. So you will be he big dude. He athletic, obviously. So I don't know what it's all about potential. You know what I mean? I think we at the part of the Lions franchise where we can start developing these projects instead of trying. When you got solidified guys in front of them, you can develop projects now.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and here's the thing, if y'all remember at the end of this past season, I said something, and then all of a sudden, like a week later, people started talking about it. Now, thankfully, it turned out not to be true. But I said at the end of the season, I don't know how much longer Frank Ragnow is going to be playing. He might retire at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And I also said Taylor Decker, we don't know that situation with Taylor Decker. Obviously he spent his entire career with the Lions, and now things are finally starting to get good, but he's got a lot of wear and tear on his body, and I hope that Taylor Decker is here for a long time, just like I hope Frank Ragnow is here for a long time. So please don't get that misconstrued. But you do have to think about, okay, if they do retire, what you going to do? And if you look at it, in last year's draft, we went out and got an offensive lineman from a small school. And this year we got one offensive lineman from a small school and one from an ACC school, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. So to me, it seems like they are preparing for that, not just injuries, but also potential retirements. And from what I understand, if you're playing guard, sometimes you can make the transition from guard to center a little bit easier. Look at Graham Glasgow. Graham Glasgow plays guard, but he also can step in and play center. And so I'm kind of wondering if some of these, other interior linemen that we've got the last 2 years through the draft that are from smaller schools, if maybe they might be trained in multiple spots on the offensive line. So that's kind of where I'm thinking that they're thinking. Now, I could be completely wrong on that. Maybe they do want this guy to just play.
I actually agree with you, Elijah. I actually agree with you because even like last year, we had a few injuries on the line. It wasn't that big of no drop off, if any at all. That's status quo for these guys. They got to be able to play more than one spot. So even like our guy Panay, he played left tackle for a game, if I wasn't mistaken, right? If I can't remember exact game, but I know he did. Yeah, he did pretty well too. So hey, everybody got to do another role.
And that's the other thing too. I heard, and I can't take credit for this, and I don't remember who said it, so I can't give that person credit either, unfortunately. But I do remember hearing somebody say, when Taylor Decker retires, if he ends up retiring as a Lion or if he ends up leaving some other way, shape, or form, okay? The thought this person had was that they will move Panay from right tackle to the left tackle spot, which means that you're going to need somebody to play right tackle. And again, I don't want to put too much on a rookie who we've never seen play, all right? But that could be either Giovanni Manu, who they drafted this year, the guy we were just talking about, who's 6'7", 350 pounds. You put him on the right side, you know what I mean? Eventually. Yeah. Or it could be the other guy they got out of Boston College. But either way, you're prepared for whatever might happen, But I think, and again, I could be wrong on this, but I think for the Lions, when they draft a lineman and it's not so obvious where the kid goes, like Panay, it's obvious. He's at the tackle spot. But when they draft a lineman and it's not obvious where they're going to be, I think they start them in the interior and then get them ready to play on the exterior, maybe at some point down the line. That's what I'm thinking. All right, let's get to the other fourth round pick that we had. This was a surprise. I didn't know much about this kid. Pretty much basically after Terrion Arnold, I didn't know much about the rest of the guys that we ended up picking. But and I had to look up how to pronounce his name. Simone Vaki, running back out of Utah, 5'11", 210 pounds. Now, quickly, I want to mention this. If you watched my Diamonds in the Rough episode of the On the Hunt podcast, Bobby was on that episode. I said to Bobby, you've got David Montgomery on year 2 of 3 this upcoming season. So they might want to draft somebody with a little bit more size who can play opposite of Jahmyr Gibbs. So you can maintain your thunder and lightning moving forward. Simone Vaki is 5'11", 210 pounds. He fits that mold of the player that we were talking about. Now, I thought that player was going to be Frank Gore Jr. So I was wrong on the player, but I was not wrong on the need. So that's I wanted to throw that out there. But Simone Vaki out of Utah, a lot of people are talking about this pick because in 2022, he played in all 14 games at the safety position. He had 5 starts in those 14 games, 41 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, 3 pass breakups, and a forced fumble. Then in 2023, he was first team All Pac-12 Conference. He was a finalist for the Polynesian College Football Player of the Year award and the Paul Hornung Award, which goes to the nation's most versatile player. He started 12 games, and get this, because of injuries at the running back spot in Utah, he had to step in and play a little running back. And in his opportunities, he did something with it. 42 carries, 317 yards, a 7.6 yard average, and 2 rushing touchdowns. And then on the defensive side of the ball, he had 51 tackles, 8.5 tackles for loss, with 2 sacks and an interception and 2 pass breakups. And he did serve a 2-year LDS mission in 2021 to 2020, 2020 to 2021. So that's obviously like a religious thing. But on the football field, he's Mr. Versatility. That's what Brad Holmes loves about him. He might end up being the best special teams player in the NFL. That's what Brad Holmes had said to him, or I should say said about him after he got drafted, was that, he was the best, special teams player in the draft this year. And as y'all know, they just changed the kickoff rules where kickoffs are going to be important again. And having a good kick returner is going to be important again. So I could see them putting Vaki back there to return kicks. I could also see them having him, be that third running back. And I know we all love Craig Reynolds, okay? But it feels like the last 3 years, it feels like they've tried to replace Craig Reynolds or create competition for that third running back slot. And every time they do it, Craig Reynolds rises to the occasion.
Yeah, he sure do, don't he?
Yeah. Every time they do it, he's kept the job. But I feel like they're going to keep doing that, and I think this is another one of those players. But again, Vaki, again, a lot of people are talking about him because they're like, well, this is interesting. So, Bobby, initial thoughts on Vaki, and then I'll read his scouting report.
Yeah. The first thing I look for running backs is the pass pro. Can they protect the quarterback? Because you ain't gonna get this a passing league. You ain't gonna get in the game if you ain't blocking for the quarterback. You better be running touchdowns to the house. But I kind of don't want to put that out there because if he's a defender coming on the offensive side of the ball, I'm almost willing to bet that he won't try to avoid contact. So I'm interested to see him in pass pro when the preseason starts. So that's just my little caveat to it because I'm kind of lost on the pick because he can do so many different things. I can't really even place my mind on how he's going to be used. So
okay. So I'm just going to read the overview here because the overview is almost downright disrespectful when it comes to his scouting report. And y'all will be able to catch the disrespectful part, okay? But I want that disclaimer out there again. These are not my thoughts, all right? This is the NFL scouting report on him, okay? But this is what it says. It says, gamer who does whatever is necessary to help his team win. Vaki carries a thick frame with good upper body power and heavy hands. He took on carries to help his team when it was stung by injuries, but he's not an NFL running back. That's what the scouting report says. He's not an NFL running back. But you know what? It's kind of weird because when he was drafted, they said running back Vaki. So Brad Holmes thinks he's a running back. This scouting report is saying that's not the case. But to finish
That's
up,
interesting. See, hey, so I'm like Elijah. I'm gonna double down. I'm extremely lost now. So
right, right.
good luck with that one, okay, brother.
All right,
I
so
don't know.
I'm gonna finish this overview here, but again, the rest of this overview is about him being a safety, which he's not gonna play for the Lions because they want to use him as a running back. But the rest of this thing says he's a conscientious tackler who is careful to center up and launch his attack only when he's in realistic striking position. He is overmatched in coverage and struggles when plays roll downfield. Vaki's below average athletic traits and lack of positional fit might create a limited path forward. So basically, this person must be, I don't know what Vaki did to this person writing this scouting report, but he must have said something bad about his mama. I have no idea. Because
I'm telling you, these ain't nothing but haters, man.
That was
Oh
mean.
my God.
That was mean. Anyway.
Because he straight up said the man is not no NFL running back, but yet he get drafted in the fourth round as a NFL running back.
Right.
Oh my God. That's whack.
Okay, so we're gonna keep it going. Round 6, okay, round 6. This was pick 189 overall, by the way, and I do want to again say I don't know much about this player. I feel like I've broken record saying that tonight, but I don't know much about him. But I know Nate was excited about him, so that should count for a lot, by the way, because when Nate's excited about a player, 9 times out of 10, Nate's right. You know, Nate's right.
Yeah, especially them defensive players. He be on it, man.
So, what do we know about Mekai Wingo, defensive tackle, LSU, 6 foot, 284 pounds. Here's what the Detroit Lions website has to say about him. In 2021, played in all 12 games with 4 starts, 27 tackles, 2 tackles for loss with 1 sack, interception, return for a touchdown, and 2 pass breakups. In 2022, third team Associated Press All-American, second team All-SEC. Played in all 14 games with 13 starts, 46 tackles, 6 tackles for loss with 3 sacks, 4 pass breakups, and a forced fumble. In 2023, played in 8 games with 7 starts, 25 tackles, 5 tackles for loss with 4.5 sacks, battled a lower body injury early in the year, missing the end of the regular season after having surgery. Returned for the team's Reliquist Bowl win over Wisconsin, named to the AFCA All-State Good Works team for his community service work, team captain, awarded the number 18 jersey given to a team leader. That is Mekai Wingo, defensive tackle out of LSU. I don't know about you, Bobby, but I'm excited to hear that because Aleem McNeil's pretty damn good, but he needs some help in the middle of that defensive line. And this might be that help, my friend, right?
Yeah, man. Dude, he buff, man. He got the Hulk Hogan 20-inch pythons too. I seen the picture of him, man. He eat well. So I can't wait till preseason this year. We got some stuff to really look at this time. Not saying like it's new guys, new talent. I don't know. Like I said, I'm optimistic, so I can't really say if I seen some negative, I could even if there is some negative, I can't even say I would even see it. But I feel like we trying to patch stuff up. Well, not more than patch stuff up. We're trying to get stuff right, especially with that defense. Just wanted to just give our guy Tim Darga a shout out because he did make a comment on there. He said our kid before is going to be a special teams monster. So it's interesting. And why I think about that, it's good that we got him in the 4th round because I just seen something online. I didn't want to take no love from the guy. I just wanted to go back and see. This is from Bad Homes about Saman. He's saying that he don't think he ever seen a guy do a 4-position workout on a pro day. That's the type of kid he is. We're excited to get to work with him. So be honest, man, we might be getting more multiple players in one player. So to back to Mr. Wingo, Yeah, man. I see what Brad Holmes doing on Saturday, man. It looked like he watched SEC football. What you think, Elijah?
I would agree with that. It's funny because last year we had, Alabama players. We had two Alabama players that were drafted. And then he also drafted two Iowa players. And I understand Iowa is not in the SEC, but follow me here, folks.
But Missouri is.
This year, this year, he went to the well and got two Missouri players and an Alabama player. So it's interesting that the last two drafts, he's had multiple players from one college or another that he's drafted. So that's kind of interesting to me. And if you also think geography wise, that's kind of interesting. Alabama, Missouri, they're not that far away from each other.
Right.
Iowa, you know what I mean? So it's like, that's kind of whoever that regional scout is making his money. That's for sure. And
Yeah.
it's probably different people for Missouri than it is Alabama and Iowa than it is Missouri. But our scouting department deserves a lot of credit, and I don't think
Definitely.
they get enough love. But I will say, Brad Holmes always makes an effort to give them love after every draft. He says, I want to thank the scouts. I want to thank the scouts. So I love that because, Brad Holmes, he could sit up there and just say, I am that person. You know what I mean? I'm the smartest person in the room. And
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't do that. He makes sure to distribute the credit across all those people that spend those sleepless nights trying to, submit players to be drafted. And I really appreciate that. But as far as Mekhi Wingo is concerned, let's get to the scouting report from NFL.com. I'm not really liking this, but we'll read it. Overview about Mekhi Wingo. It says Wingo is a shade undersized. Now remember, he's 6'4", or 6'4", 284 pounds.
And he undersized. Are you, man? Stop playing with me, man. How is you 6 foot and almost 300 and undersized where?
I
To be
think
a Chevy, a truck? Come on, man.
I think the reason why they're saying that is because he's not like 6'3", so they don't think that he can bat the ball down. You know what I
Lord
mean?
have mercy. They
I
some
think I
damn
think
fool.
maybe that's why they're saying that, but I don't know because I'm
Mm,
not the person who wrote this. Again, it was
man.
probably a Vikings fan. Wingo is a shade undersized, but his tape is fun to watch. He is compact and powerful with the ability to separate and play off lateral blocks quickly. He can be overcome by length or mass at times, but is rarely dominated. He has first step quickness and processing to beat blockers to erase their landmarks and is tremendously agile as a short space tackler. Wingo has a hop and chop rush move typically seen from defensive ends and will be too athletic for some guards to handle as a pass rusher. Wingo could become an early backup as an even front three technique, but he has three down potential and could eventually become a starter. Strengths, as far as Mekhi Wingo is concerned, according to NFL.com, hustles to beat the blocker to the spot, uses hands and power to work across lateral blocks, good bend and base strength to challenge a downhill block, above average reactive athleticism with short area quickness, experience rushing off the edge, expanded his skill set and process. Lateral quickness and leverage create rush wins into the pocket.
Mm.
Weaknesses for Mekhi Wingo. Undersized and can be smothered by bigger blockers at times.
Didn't do his homework in the third grade. Go ahead. Let's go. Let's keep going.
He let out a fart at church. I don't know.
Oh my God.
Widen off the spot by angle blocks, allowing lane to grow. Punch and shed action at point of attack can be labored. Rush can become too straight-legged into contact. Longer guards can slow his upfield charge with early hands. And it says, sources tell us, and this is from an AFC regional scout, saying, quote, he got injured and was supposed to be out for the year, but came back in time to play for the bowl game, which shows you the kid's football character. And obviously that's a compliment, so that we'll take it. But again, that is Mekhi Wingo. And as far as 40-yard dash time, I'm trying to see here. 40-yard dash in 4.85 seconds.
That's pretty big for him. But
And and 10-yard splits was 1.64 seconds.
Good, now that's really good.
He's got a vertical jump of 31.5 inches.
How big is he? Yeah, he might can dunk a ball.
So there you go.
We need to have a misnomer under here. The thoughts and comments of NFL.com do not reflect the thoughts and comments of the On the Hunt podcast, because some of them no. No. I just don't like like you said, it sounds like a Vikings fan. It sounds like is this the same guy doing all of these, or is it different guys?
It doesn't even have on here who the scouting report was written.
Oh, they ain't gonna put a name on it, huh?
They're gonna do this anonymously. Yeah.
Oh,
but anyway,
okay, go ahead.
So let's get to our final draft pick here. A guard out of Boston College, 6'3", 314 pounds. His name is Christian Mahogany. And here's what we know about Christian Mahogany. In 2019, he was redshirted. 2020 started all 11 games at left guard. 2021, second team All ACC, started 11 games at right guard. So you can already see why Brad Holmes likes him. He can play all guard spots. 2022 tore right ACL in June and missed the season. 2023 first team All ACC, started 12 games at right guard. So if you're looking at that, he started over 20 games at right guard in his career and started 11 games at left guard.
And it was all conference on both sides.
And we got this kid in the 6th round. That just kind of shows you how deep the offensive linemen were this year. But let me get his scouting report here up.
Oh, God. He pours the milk in the cereal. He pours the milk before he puts the cereal in the bowl.
You know what, though? You know, we've had, I think earlier I said that a Bears fan wrote it. Then I said a Vikings fan wrote it.
It's a whole division.
We're gonna go ahead and say that this scouting report is brought to you by a Packer backer. Yeah. Let's see what we got here for the scouting report. Bobby, before I do this, we got any more comments on YouTube?
Oh, yeah. Let me look real quick. I'm sorry, Elijah, man. I guess I wanted to embrace the hate for a second. No, we don't, brother. But I would like to say, if you do want to comment, go right ahead, man. I won't bite. Elijah might, but I got the collar on him, so I zap him. So he ain't gonna bite. But anyway, yeah, just join on in, man. Don't want to have me and Elijah doing all the talking. We don't care if anybody got their own little thoughts or comments, because
for sure,
honestly, you're gonna have to try hard to be more negative than these dudes on NFL.com. So let's see how it goes.
Juicy Packerbacker says that Mahogany is big and powerful, but lacking the leverage and body control needed to play a more consistent brand of football. Mahogany's early tape was very problematic due to shoddy footwork caused by a poor stance, but he made a mid-season self-correction that led to to better tape later in the year. He doesn't have the short area movements to be a consistent pass protector against NFL sub packages, but the hand usage and punch are good. Mahogany is a downhill mauler who needs to continue technique work, but also needs to play for a team that values the big power players and allows them to do what they do best in the run game. I think that fits us pretty well. He has a chance to get back up with upside early in his career. We'll get to the strength in a second, but Bobby, that sounds like somebody we would want, right?
Yes, and I hate to keep nitpicking at this negative stuff. So this early tape was problematic, but the early tape of this season that just passed, where he was first team all conference, or was it the early tape of when he was in 2021 when he was second team all conference?
I think what they're saying is the problematic tape happened in 2020, but this is where
okay.
This is where I get a little heated, okay?
Okay.
Because let's be honest about this. If you were to look at security camera footage of Bobby Bless at Walmart,
oh God,
during his 90-day probationary period, there probably would have been some things that he messed up. Okay, and that he had to make self-corrections on.
I'm gonna get you back, Elijah, but go ahead. That's true.
I've done 1,500 shows now in radio. if you listen to my first 5 shows, I bet you there was some problematic stuff that I said.
Right.
So
He's still, yeah.
it's like he was a baby. You know what I mean? Like I don't mean to sound disrespectful, but he was a young.
Yeah. He was definitely learning.
He
Went
was
behind
like
the ears. Right.
18 years old, and you're like, oh, the footage was problematic. Well, no shit, it was problematic. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
And he should get credit for the fact that he self-corrected. He should get more credit for that. And I don't even know the guy, but like he should get more credit for that.
Yeah, it sounds like he got lucky and got it better the way he wrote it down on the paper.
And here's the other thing. He played at Boston College. Now I realize that Boston College greatest hits tape includes Doug Flutie, okay, and Matt Ryan. Okay, I understand that. And it's been a long time since either one of them played for the Boston College Eagles. But let's not sit here and pretend that if this kid wasn't good, that Boston College would just have to put up with him because they have no other option. They could have brought in other people, but they didn't because this kid's pretty good. But the way they talk about him on the thing, on the overview of the scouting report, makes it seem like, well, Boston College, he was problematic, and he doesn't have all these things, but he can run down the field and hit somebody. So I'll be interested to see what happens once he gets in there with Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker and our offensive line coach. Like, I think this kid will be okay. But he was drafted in the 6th round. So let's look at the rest of the scouting report begrudgingly from Packerbacker 1029. Strengths has broad, girthy build. I feel dirty saying girthy build, but there we go. So 69, girthy build.
Oh no, episode 69.
That's right, girthy build. Anyway, plays like a big man. That's probably because he is. That's a weird way of putting that.
Yeah. He can't really help it. It sounds like
Has heavy hands to jolt and knock opponents off kilter early on. Tape of him pulling and wiping out defenders is a coach's dream.
Wow.
Upper body power and chippy demeanor to maul and scrap at the point. Consistent use of inside hands bolsters an already sturdy protection anchor. Weaknesses. Pad level suffers from inability to play with consistent bend. By the way, you know who they also said that about? Derrick Henry. He runs too high. He won't make it. Okay. Inconsistent contact balance and body control throughout the strain phase. Double teams, footwork, and fit tend to be a little too sloppy. Heavy feet open him to arm over moves and spin counters. You know who will help with that? Aiden Hutchinson. Going against Hutchinson will help him learn how to handle that. Lacks lateral quickness to slide and mirror with edge-to-edge rushers. So that is the scouting report there on Christian Mahogany out of Boston College. And as far as his 40-yard dash, if we got it, 5.13 seconds.
Damn.
10-yard splits was 1.74 seconds. So if you think about that for a second, okay, think about having somebody 6'3", 314 pounds running at you with a whole head of steam, and you are a cornerback who's probably 5'10", 200 pounds. I'm gonna make a business decision and I'm gonna move out the fucking way. That's what I'm gonna do. Screw that.
Amen.
That. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and quit sharing my screen here so we can get me and Bobby back on the screen here. So Bobby, that kind of does it for our draft picks, but I do want to get to our list of undrafted free agents. So before I do that, just your thoughts on our draft prospects as a whole.
Well, it looks like Brad Holmes didn't really, like me and they always tell you, he didn't listen to Mel Kiper and them. They had their own homework, research, and it looks like he got guys that you gotta calm down. They too hyper. You gotta try to harness that toughness and over aggressiveness. And I really like it because it seems like we've got draft picks for needs and we've got draft pick for grit. So look like we got the corners with grit. We got the damn linemen and the one guy he do every damn job. He gonna do everything. So I'm interested. I like you said, man. Them scouts in the South will be working hard. So
So
I'm happy with it, man.
let's take a look here at the undrafted free agents. Now, these are the guys who, unfortunately didn't get drafted, which sucks. Okay, let's be honest about that. Like, you live your whole life for that opportunity to hear your name get called, and it doesn't get called. But these guys are coming in with a chip on their
But they
shoulder.
can pick their own teams, Elijah. And it ain't that bad though.
They can pick their
It
own
ain't the end of the world.
team,
Yeah.
and they have an opportunity here
Yeah.
to, latch on to a team. So that's what those are the type of players we're talking about right now. But I
Yeah.
wanted to give those
Yeah.
players some respect instead of talking about
Most
like,
definitely.
these are a bunch of bums or just camp bodies. And well, maybe not. Maybe not. You might find somebody in here that's pretty freaking good.
Can't do good at interviews. That kind of all that little stuff matter around the draft. They might not like sitting in the office and talking. They might want to let talking doing on the field. So you gotta let them hit the field.
So here's what we got, okay? And I promise you, I'm gonna butcher some of these names, all right?
Oh God.
But we're gonna give it a go anyway, all right? So here's what we got for
Undrafted free agent rookies.
Quarterback, Cade Peterson out of Grand Valley State. Running back, Michael Herzog out of Hillsdale College. Wide receiver, Isaiah Williams out of Illinois.
Yeah, he's the one. He's the one that can return the punts and stuff, Elijah. Okay. Yeah.
Wide receiver, Jalen Calhoun out of Duke. I remember him being a pretty good player.
Yeah.
Tight end, Isaac Rex out of BYU. Don't know anything about him.
I don't know that one.
Center. Now, here's what's interesting. Remember what I told y'all before about how,
about Ragnar?
We got 3 centers that I'm about to read for you that they have invited to rookie minicamp. And they drafted 2 interior offensive linemen. So that kind of tells me something, y'all. I'm not saying like, go to his Twitter and start saying, thank you, Frank, for all the memories. I'm not saying that. But that to me says he knows something that maybe they're not saying out loud, if you get what I'm saying. So 3 centers in this here. We got Kingsley Yucacon, I believe is how you say it, out of Florida. Center Brian Hudson out of Louisville. Center Duke Clemens out of UCLA.
I like that name. He sound
I like that name too. That sounds like
Duke Clemens. He sound like a Wild West guy.
Okay, let's keep it moving here. Edge rusher, they got one. His name is Isaac Ukwu out of Ole Miss.
Ooh, you messed them names up bad.
Man, these names are trying to hurt me tonight. Nate Lynn out of William and Mary, another edge rusher. Linebacker, Steel Chambers out of Ohio State.
Oh, that's a great name.
That's a great name.
That's a WWE name right there, boy.
Steel Chambers with Giovanni Manu coming up next on SummerSlam. Anyway,
Steel cage match.
All right, let's see here. Linebacker / safety, Deron Gilbert out of Northern Illinois. I'm looking at Bobby because Bobby's our MAC representative.
Well, the name doesn't sound catchy, but we got a guy. The name don't sound catchy, but last I remember, Northern Illinois, they do put NFL talent into the NFL. And I'm thinking the last one we had was Kenny Golladay. He was from there.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a guy that run that route before and did pretty well. So hopefully he can do something.
If you ever meet a Giants fan in your life and you want to know their true colors, okay, their true colors, you mentioned Kenny Golladay. They will turn. They're going to turn into a completely different person, okay? They've seen a ghost because they paid all that money for 1 touchdown. Anyway, let's keep moving. So Deron Gilbert out of Northern Illinois, linebacker / safety. We got cornerback Maurice Norris out of Fresno State. We got safety Loren Strickland out of Ball State. Safety.
That's another MAC school. I see Brad Home watch the MAC and the SEC.
That's right. Safety Shalane Garnes out of Wake Forest. Long snapper Hogan Hatton out of Idaho. and kicker James Turner out of Michigan.
That's my problem. I don't know why they ain't getting the UFL guy, man. I don't even want to even hear it. Nothing against the Michigan kid, but come on.
My guess is maybe they can actually sign that guy though, because remember undrafted free agents. We're talking about just rookies,
Right,
whereas
right, right,
that
right.
guy isn't technically a rookie. So
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
think
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that would be why.
It
But
got to be something in the politics and paperwork. It got to be.
But you know what I'm noticing here, my friend, as I'm looking at this? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We got 8 of the undrafted free agents that are for offense. And then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We got a bunch of defensive players, and we got a lot of linebackers. We got a lot of corners. They did get a running back and a couple wide receivers, but it just feels like they are very determined to make sure that offensive line stays as good as it possibly
It,
can.
are we still bringing Mo back from
Oh,
Minnesota from last year?
I don't know. I don't know.
That'd be because I feel he didn't get a fair shake because his injuries. But
Mo Ibrahim, he is. Let me see if I can't figure this out here.
I bet he'd be ready this year if I had the chance to bet on
He's
it.
a free agent. He's a free agent. Yeah. So
We need to bring him back.
yeah, but like I said, he is a free agent. I know, like you were saying before, he obviously did get injured. So we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll
them
see what ends up
injuries.
happening.
Yeah.
So those are your undrafted free agents. Those are your drafted rookies as well for the Detroit Lions. Obviously, we got to wait a little bit before we have more football news, but we're still going to be cranking out episodes every week
Yeah,
as long
yeah,
as
and we
all of
got
our
the
schedules.
schedule release coming soon too. Don't forget about that, guys. How
That's
how
right.
how is Bobby going to plan his days off?
And I do want to throw this out there real quick. So Bobby and I were talking about this pre-show. There's one team out there, and I don't want to speak for Bobby, but
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I know Bobby agrees with me on this particular point. Okay. There's one team out there that I feel like is a little scary. Okay. I'm looking at the Philadelphia Eagles because the Eagles already had, in my humble opinion, a good secondary. I know their game against Tampa in the playoffs did not go the way they wanted, and Baker Mayfield was throwing it all over the yard, right? But for the rest of that season, because you remember they started out red hot, okay? Their defense was decent, and yet they go out with their first 2 draft picks. They get Bobby's guy, Quinion Mitchell out of Toledo, and then they turn around with the 40th pick in the draft and get Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. Now those 2 corners are coming into a cornerback room that already has Charlie Gardner-Johnson and Darius Slay. So to me, I'm thinking maybe keep an eye on the Eagles, but I feel like the Eagles have the last few years really knocked it out of the park with their defensive draft picks because they got a lot of Georgia guys on that defense. They went and they fixed their defensive line. Now they're working on their secondary. It's like, okay, that might be a team that we will have to face this season in the postseason because I'm expecting us to win our division and go somewhere in the playoffs. That's what I'm expecting. By the way, if we do that, if we do what we're supposed to do, I could see us battling for that number 1 seed at the end of the year. And if we get that number 1 seed, opponents have to come into Ford Field where the Lions, and I know it was only 2 games, but where the Lions are undefeated in the playoffs. We have never lost a home playoff game at Ford Field.
That's good. Elijah, look at you. Oh, history lesson.
I'm just saying that's pretty cool. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and I went to the playoff game, man. Dude, it was like winning. Closest thing to winning the Super Bowl. I had earplugs. Yeah.
But I'm just saying though, those opponents are going to come into a place that's never
A
known
loud. Yes, loud.
So, and I do expect us to be on primetime television a lot this season.
Oh yeah, that's why I said I'm placing my off days around all them days too.
Because a lot of people, even people that I hear, in New York talking about football, they all expect the Lions to be there at the end, and so this is a different type of year, which is exciting to think about. And I will say that I am glad that, we do have good veteran leadership back there in that secondary, because these two corners, we got to remember, cornerback to NFL, I should say, cornerback going from college to the NFL is one of the hardest transitions to make. And not everybody survives that transition. So let's not be too hard on Terrion Arnold or Ennis Rakestraw Jr. when they get in there and they make a mistake. It's going to happen, okay? It's going to happen. And that's one of those things that I think, unfortunately, went against Jeff Okudah. Because Jeff Okudah was
got hurt.
He got hurt. But even before that, though, he was expected to save the defense because he was picked top 10.
Yeah, number 2.
And so, I mean, it's not your fault where you get picked, you know what I mean? But you got to do something with it. And unfortunately, Okudah, it just never worked out.
Right.
It worked out here in Detroit. So I just wanted to throw that out there as a fan, talking to other fans. Give these kids a shot, okay? Because they're gonna have growing pains. Unfortunately, it's just a matter of how do they handle those growing pains. And as I said before, I got a good feeling about Terrion Arnold that he can handle whatever is thrown his way, in a professional manner. And I don't know that much about Ennis, so I don't want to speak out of pocket. So I'm just going to say, let's see what happens, but he seems like a good dude. I just don't know that much about him. I didn't do that much research on him.
That's why we got this good that we got a lot of player coaching. Coaches that former players, man, they can relate to him on a different scale than a guy that's not that that just studied the game.
And also, I just want to throw this out here because I was so happy for this guy. Quantez Stiggers, all right? I will probably always be a Quantez Stiggers fan because of what he went through, having never gone to college and being in the NFL draft. I really wanted them on our Lions team. I really did. I wanted them on this Lions team because of his versatility and the fact that he's a ball hawking corner with great size who had multiple interceptions in different professional leagues. I thought he would have been a good addition with Terrion Arnold. We didn't get him, and that's okay. But I'm very happy to report that Quantez Stiggers did get drafted. He got drafted in the 5th round, pick 176 for the New York Jets. So I'm really happy for that kid, that he was able to get a spot. And then Brendan Rice, the son of Jerry Rice, he actually is getting a spot with the Chargers, so that'll be kind of interesting. And Terrell Owens' son is actually getting an opportunity to win a job with the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, I didn't even know that one.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
And Jeremiah Trotter Jr., he's going to go play for the Eagles. So it's
cool. Boy, his dad was a thumper. He was one of my favorites, man.
I thought that was pretty cool to be able to see him go and play for a team. It feels right, It feels like it's supposed to be that way. And then Frank Gore Jr., I do just want to check and see where he went because I don't remember off the top of my head. Frank Gore Jr. goes to the Buffalo Bills. So I will get to hear a lot about Frank Gore Jr. And by the way, obviously he went undrafted this year, which sucks, but he's going into a running back room with James Cook. So you could see maybe a little thunder, a little lightning if Frank Gore Jr. does.
Yeah, because James Cook is decent. He ain't no like bell cow though. You know what I mean?
So, and Buffalo loves a good story, and I think Frank Gore Jr. is certainly a good story. So, but that's just an update on some of the guys that we talked about. Like I said, they're not Lions, but the one that I'm the most happy for, honestly, is Quantez. I am so happy for him. I don't know him personally, but just that story of, having a non-traditional route to the NFL and it working out through hard work and dedication. Like that, to me, is an inspiration to many people, just like Quinyon Mitchell. I didn't know that much about Quinyon Mitchell, but, they were talking about it during the NFL draft that this is going to show other kids, hey, If you're talented, we'll find you.
Yeah, definitely. It's not the same.
And so,
It's cameras everywhere now. Everybody got a phone.
yeah. And I will say Nick Saban actually came out and said, which Bobby, you might like this. Quinyon Mitchell got offered by Alabama to jump ship in the portal. So Alabama wanted him, but he said no to Alabama to keep his commitment to Toledo.
A little caveat you might not know.
Okay.
Nick Saban used to be the Toledo Rockets head football coach.
Right. Before he went to
Back,
Michigan State.
yeah. And he won the MAC championship there too. So he done won everywhere except for the NFL.
Right. And but like I said, I just thought you would like that though, because
Oh, for
often,
sure.
you throw that Crimson Tide jersey out there, and kids are like, "Who was I with? I don't remember her. I'm gonna come and play."
Right.
You know.
Right. But like I said though, he man around town, he got a lot of posters around here. So he big fish, small pond, but I still surprised how far he dropped though.
Yeah.
I don't understand what was that all about, but
I think
then
it was
again,
the
there's always
quarterback.
that one kid. There's always that one or two.
I think it was the quarterbacks. I think teams panicked when they started seeing all these quarterbacks go off the board, one right after another, because
Oh yeah.
because all the mock drafts, not to go into a whole another subject, but all the mock drafts had those first three picks being quarterbacks. All the mock drafts I saw. But after that, people were thinking you might have to wait to the later part of the first round for another quarterback to go. And that's not what happened. Everybody decided to go ahead and get their guy. And the Raiders, by the time they got to pick 13, the Raiders were like, uh-oh, what do we do? So that's why
Right.
they got Brock Bowers. But the Raiders, I mean, they don't necessarily have their quarterback. They got Gardner Minshew and they got Aiden O'Connell, but neither one of those guys would be a starter on any other team in the NFL. No disrespect to them, but let's be
Maybe
honest.
Gardner. Maybe
But
Gardner
Gardner,
Minshew.
but Gardner got shipped out of Jacksonville so they could go get Trevor
But
Lawrence.
I'll take him over the guy in Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough, fair enough. And
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins, let me just say this right now. Kirk Cousins in Atlanta, I know he's mad. He's mad that Michael Penix
I
Jr.
bet he know. I bet he not mad, Elijah. I don't think he mad.
According to his agent, okay, according to his agent, it was reported that they called him while the Falcons were on the clock to tell him they were drafting Michael Penix Jr., and that was the first he had heard about it. So that's why he was shocked and dismayed, according to the report that I saw, that they got Michael Penix Jr. But
Yeah.
here's my thing on that. And again, I'll just be brief with this because I know we got to get going here. But Kirk Cousins needs to realize you are not the young buck anymore. So no matter where you go for the rest of your NFL career, they will be planning for life after you. It's not an insult. It's them protecting their brand and protecting their team. Yeah, they want you for the moment, but it is now your responsibility to keep the rookie on the bench by playing so damn well that they can't afford to take you out. So instead of looking at it as a slap in the face, like he's currently doing, you got to look at it as here's an opportunity to prove I got a lot left in the tank, because you are coming off an Achilles injury and you are on the back end of your career if you look at average years that a quarterback plays. So to me, don't be shocked and dismayed. Be motivated. Show them why they paid you all that money. And for Michael Penix Jr., man, I would highly suggest that he just tries his very best to just block out all the noise, because unfortunately, Falcons fans are very angry about the fact that they used the 8th pick to get him. And it's not so much an issue with him. It's an issue with the fact that Falcons fans believe, and I know a lot of them being from Atlanta, Falcons fans believe that they could have used that pick to get a wide receiver or get defensive help. And instead, after paying all that money to Kirk Cousins, you go and draft a quarterback.
Yeah, it's dumb. For real. It's really like the dumbest thing that happened in the draft. But see, but Kirk Cousins' agent is the real MVP, because every single dollar that the Atlanta Falcons giving him is guaranteed.
Right.
So they could pick all quarterbacks, and guess who's still gonna get paid?
Right.
I'm telling you, this Kirk Cousins last guaranteed contract. It gotta be.
But you know what's
Last
funny to me?
multi-year contract. It gotta be.
To me, I feel like, and I know I'm gonna get heat for saying this, but
Oh no,
I feel like Kirk Cousins is the greatest scam artist in the NFL
man, who you telling?
because I've been telling people for years that if you want to be mediocre, you go get Kirk Cousins because Kirk Cousins is the quarterback version of Jeff Fisher. Because if you remember, Jeff Fisher would traditionally go 7-9 or 8-8. He'd do just enough to look competent, but not enough for you to be like, smartest man in the room. I need to get life advice from him. That was Jeff Fisher in a nutshell. And for
Yeah,
Kirk
definitely.
Cousins at Washington, it was always mediocre, right? 1 o'clock time slot looks like Joe Montana. Any other time slot looks like Kerry Collins. Okay. But like, I've never understood the hype. And he goes to Minnesota where they put talent around him and he still couldn't get it done. So now he's going to go to Atlanta. And let's be honest, he's an upgrade from what they had. But Atlanta plays most of their games in the 1 o'clock time slot. So maybe Atlanta will be there at the end of the year competing for the, number one spot in the playoffs because of all their 1 o'clock kickoffs. But we'll have to wait and see on that. I will say though, I had guessed that they were going to pick a wide receiver, to help out Kirk Cousins and solidify that offense. And then maybe later on go and draft a quarterback. But instead they said, no, we're getting the quarterback first. Go ahead and get it out of the way. And again, that's probably triggered because of all the other quarterbacks that went before Michael Penix Jr. did. They didn't want to lose out on their guy. So, like I said, Michael Penix Jr. is not a villain. I'm rooting for the guy. I think he's going to have a great career. But I think for Atlanta Falcons fans, they kind of need to watch what they're doing here because it's not his fault where he got picked, and he's going to be really good for your franchise if you don't make him hate it before he's even played it down there, But anyway, Bobby Bless, let's get to our closing remarks, my friend. I'll let you go first.
Well, it was great talking draft with you. You know I miss our brothers, man. I got a lot of questions about the defense that I was gonna ask Nate, but to be continued. So and other than that, man, it was a two-man show. Elijah, thanks for carrying me as you do. Um, it just was fun, man. Actually, I did learn a lot though. I learned that the not read what NFL.com got to say about players. I learned that's the main thing I learned, but it's a lot of negativity. I want to see all our guys definitely prove them wrong, and I hope they not listening to it because you made it. They didn't. So that's pretty much it with that one, brother.
Hey, I certainly agree. I certainly agree. Maybe next time they'll get, other divisions involved in the scouting
Yeah,
report.
they haters, man. They is haters, man, for real.
So with that being said, hey, obviously, again, a huge shout out to Bobby Bless, who was with me on this episode. And we want to give a shout out to Reggie Funches and Nate Rucker. Reggie's been very, very busy lately, but he still made time to make sure he could give us some on-scene reporting during the NFL draft show. So that was super cool.
Oh, it was accurate, too.
Yeah, very
accurate reporting.
Very accurate. And I also want to give a shout out to Comfort Zone Bar out there in Detroit. Thank you all for letting us, set up shop there. Obviously with Nate Rucker being there. And obviously a huge shout out to Nate as well. My friends, as I always end the show, I'm gonna do it the same way tonight. Okay. If you find a situation this week where your skill set can make it better, you now not just have the ability, you have the responsibility to do something about it. And remember,
That's
my
right.
friend, every day is an opportunity to make your life a little better and the lives of those you love. So get out there and take advantage. Until next time, for the number one Lions fan, Mr. Bobby Bless, for myself, Elijah Winfrey, be good to yourself, be good to others.
Just say Robert Means on there. Who the hell is that? Anyway.
That's his government name. Anyway.
Man, where the check at? No.
But until we talk to y'all again.